Mom, I need some paper for class.
Okay, don't worry, I will too.
Mom, I need some paper. A lot of it. We got a long ways left to go.
And he's recording this, so just show her the video and show her what's going on.
All right, quadratic formula. So we have been studying quadratic equations. Can somebody please raise their hand and give me an example of a quadratic equation? Okay.
Why?
Okay. I want the
2x squared
okay, x squared
plus
4x
minus 5.
minus
No.
5.
Oh
Nope.
my gosh.
I'm
It
good
was my
with that.
turn. It
Okay.
was my turn.
Too bad, you're too slow.
Yeah.
All right, so don't have cow, man.
I don't have cows.
This is a quadratic equation because it's got an x squared in it. That makes it quadratic. And it's got an equal sign. That makes it an equation. Okay? And so far, what we've been doing to solve these quadratic equations is what? Factoring. Okay? And so if I was asking you to solve this,
Oh my gosh.
I would say x and x go in front, and then you need two numbers that multiply together to make -5, and add together to make 4. And what would those two numbers be?
5 and 1.
Positive 5
A negative 1.
and -1. Okay? And then we talked about using the zero product property. What are the two answers that I would get?
Negative
from
5
this?
and 1.
-5 and 1, right? Okay, as it happens, sometimes you might come across, a quadratic equation that you can't factor. For example, if I change the 4x to a 3x, now I need two numbers that multiply together to be -5, but add together to be +3. And you can't do it, at least not with whole numbers. Okay? So if you are faced with a situation where you can't solve it by factoring, that is where the quadratic formula comes in. Okay? And I'm not going to make you sing the song. If you don't know the song already, I'm going to just demonstrate the song to you without singing because I have a horrible singing voice. Just so you can help remember it.
X equals -b plus or minus the square root
But
of
the
b
beauty
squared
of
minus
the
4ac
quadratic formula is that it will work for any quadratic equation, whether it factors or not. So you can always use this formula. The problem with the quadratic formula is it's really long and complicated and it's hard to use. And so that's why if you can factor it, even all the way up through calculus, we always try to factor it first. The only time you go to this is if you are desperate, okay? And so the way the song goes, most of you sounds like you're familiar with this already. Mr. Helvey made this up. It is to use the quadratic formula. Take the opposite of b. What? I will in a second. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then you take
This isn't even a song.
that total
You made it up.
and divide it by 2a. That is the quadratic formula
Hey.
that we learned in class today. Okay? So it's just an easy way to remember that complicated formula, and it's supposed to be sung to the tune of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So it goes, to use the quadratic formula, take the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then you take that total and divide it by 2h. That is the quadratic formula. And this song is really annoying. Okay, so that is how you can remember the quadratic formula if you can't, remember it on your own. Now, there's not really a big reason to do that because you can use notes on your quiz and test in here. When you get to college, maybe it's possible that you wouldn't be able to use notes or whatever. I just worry about Montesano kids getting beat up in college because they're sitting there taking a test in math class, they start singing that song, and somebody's like gets annoyed because it's a really annoying song, like you said. And this song is really annoying. Anyway, okay. So I really honestly think that in the 10 years that I've taught this, I've never sung this song before. I don't
sing.
No, as you can tell, I don't sing. All right, so let's go back to the problem that we had at the start here, and let's solve this using the quadratic formula. So x squared plus 3x minus 5. So x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. So the first thing that you need to understand is, just like the other ones that we did, in order for this to work, you have to get everything over to the left-hand side set equal to 0. Okay? We've got that taken care of, so we don't have to worry about that. Now we take a look at this, and you have to figure out what A and B and C are. So in this case, A is 1, B is 3, and C is -5. Okay? And then we just plug it into the quadratic formula. So -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, yes.
Wait.
Wait.
I don't know how to say it before that. For the b, you want to put 3 in for the b and all that? Or not?
Yeah, I'm going to put in, so b is 3.
And then are you going to put it in for the b squared as well?
Also, yeah, so we use the same one for both. Yeah,
okay.
So b is 3, so that means the opposite of b is -3. Okay, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So if b is 3, b squared is 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. And I want to pause right there. And in my head, I am jumping up and down and I am screaming this at the top of my lungs. But I'll try and stay calm on the outside. Yeah, that's what's happening on the inside. This number will always be positive, okay? Because it doesn't matter whether b is a negative number or a positive number. A negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a positive is a positive. So this is me jumping up and down screaming. Never write a negative number there to start this underneath the square root. This will never be -9 or -25 or -16 or -4. That first number that you write down will always be positive, okay? What? Right, but a negative squared is still going to be a positive, okay? So it doesn't matter. Always going to be positive, okay? All right, then I'm going to go minus 4 times what's A? 1. And then like Lexi said, we need to use the B again. Okay? So B is still...
Didn't you already use? No, that's C.
Oh, sorry. Thanks. Okay, don't even know my own formula. What is up? So C is -5, so we'll plug that in there. And then 2 times A is 2. Okay? And hopefully you recognize a little something from what we've worked with before in here. This -b over 2a is what you used to come up with the x-coordinate of the vertex of a parabola. And so since these are parabolas, the solutions relate to the graphs in a way we'll talk about in the future. All right, so does everybody understand where all those numbers came from? Just plug them in, okay? So b was 3, opposite of b is negative 3, plus or minus b squared. b was 3, 3 squared is 9, 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a, all right? So now we need to simplify underneath the square root. So I'm going to do this part over here first. I'm going to leave the 9 the same, and I'm going to do my multiplication first. What is negative 4 times 1 times negative 5? Depends on what it is. Nope. What? Positive 20. And the reason why it's positive is because this negative times this negative makes a positive. And the reason why it's 20 is because 4 times 1 times 5 is 20. Okay? And that's still over 2. Jolena? Jolena? Read a smile for me. Okay. Now I'm going to add those together. So I'm doing order of operations here. So I'm doing the multiplication first. Now I'm going to do the addition. 9 plus 20 is
29.
29. And then that's divided by 2. And then this is the reason why this one did not factor. Because the square root of 29 is some crazy decimal number. So our answers are going to be crazy decimal numbers. So someone with a calculator, will you please tell me what the square root of 29 is to 2 decimal places? I'll do the first part.
5.385.
Okay. 5.38 what?
5.
So we'd round that up to 5.39 divided by 2. Okay, now we have to deal with this weird plus or minus thing.
How do you do that?
Okay, the way you do that is we're going to have 2 separate answers here. I'm going to go negative 3 plus 5.39 first and divide that answer by 2. So negative 3 plus 5.39 is 2.39. And I have to divide that by 2. Then I'm going to go negative 3 minus 5.39 and divide that answer by 2. So negative 3 minus 5.39 is negative 8.39. And then, like I said, I have to divide that by 2. So 2.39 divided by 2 is 1 point what?
1.2.
1.2. And negative 8.39 divided by 2 is negative 4.2. And so those are going to be our 2 answers.
That's so confusing.
All right? It is confusing. It took us an entire page to do it. Okay? Probably 3 or 4 minutes to have this whole conversation and work our way through it. And in the end, like I said, we get these crazy decimal answers. So for these, you're not going to expect to get 8 or negative 5 or 0, although you could. But you're probably going to come up with some crazy, awkward answers. And that's okay.
So after the negative 3 plus or minus and then the 5, whatever, 2 as the right corner there. So we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, 2 answers to these, which is the same thing that you would expect, because when we factor these into x plus 5 times x minus 1, you get 2 answers. So most of the time, most often, when you solve a quadratic equation, you're going to get 2 answers, not just 1. Okay?
Did we skip section 5?
We did, yes.
It's Chase's.
Okay. I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I forgot to mention that we skipped 9.6. We're not going to work on
9.5.
9.5. Right. Okay. All right. So let's do another one. Now that you've seen it once, hopefully it's going to be a little bit more easy to follow along here. What do I have to do first? Subtract 2x. Good, because I need to make sure that everything is set equal to 0. So if I subtract 2x from both sides, I get x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. What do I have to do after that?
Plug it in.
I'm going to figure out what A and B and C are. So what's A? 1. What's B? And what is C? All right, so now I'm ready to plug those numbers into the quadratic formula, which I will rewrite here. You don't have to always rewrite it, but I will, so you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing. So first thing to do is take the opposite of B. So this time if B starts out as negative, the opposite of that is going to be positive. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. What is b squared in this case? 4. Not negative 4. 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Then I'm going to go minus 4 times, what's A?
Negative, or 1.
What's C?
Negative
And that's all divided by 2 times A, which is
2.
2. Okay? So that first part is just plug stuff into the stupid formula. We didn't even really do any math there except for the squaring part.
16 squared.
Okay, now I'm going to simplify just like I did before. So I'm going to start with simplifying the square root, and order of operations tells me to do the multiplication first. So I leave the 4 alone. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 8 is, first of all, a negative times a negative is a positive.
36.
Positive 32.
And 4 times 1 times 8 is
32.
32. And that's all over 2. Okay? So I'm still working on the square root. What is 4 plus 32? 36. So that's going to be square root of 36 over 2. But what is the square root of 36? 6. So this is 2 plus or minus 6 over 2. So now I have to do the 2 separate problems. 2 plus 6 is 8. And 8 divided by 2 makes 4. And 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So those are our 2 answers. The fact that they came out to be whole numbers and not decimals tells us what is true about the original problem. We could have done it an easy way. We could have factored this. So I could have taken x squared minus 2x minus 8 and said it's going to be x and x. What 2 numbers multiply together to be negative 8?
4 and 2.
Negative 4 and positive 2. And so since I've got x minus 4, that means x has to equal 4 to make that 0. Since I have x plus 2, that means x has to equal negative 2 to make that 0. Okay? So the moral of that story is always check to see if you can factor it first before you blindly go with the quadratic formula. Nate?
Why on beginning of before the square root it was negative b, right?
Yep.
Why isn't that 2 a negative?
Because it was a negative to start with. So if I put another negative sign in front of there, the 2 negatives cancel and make a
I don't know what you said.
All right? Okay. So your prize from suffering through all this is that I will give you this exciting thing.
Hey.
If I can find it. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, isn't that pretty? It's got a reindeer singing and everything. So I'll print that out for you so you guys can have it.
Really?
Okay, uh-huh. What? Oh, I'm gonna print it. Okay, so that you guys can have that for your notes. Can you, oh yeah, I'm sure it will. Can you type, no, no.
Actually, I would have been faster, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you did.
It's me. I made it. Hey. Take it, Julia. I was like, I'll be trying to do that too.
Nate,
Bless you.
may I have one?
Oh my God.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Is that yours?